we need to talk about Express. Express has been the most valuable tech in the web development industry since a long time. But there are some things that I never liked. Your opinions might be different, might be better, but from my point of view, these things could have been different. If you have used Express before, you already know the stuff about routing files via app.use, the URL or the path, and the regress thing. So I can actually show you why I think this approach is actually bad. So I can go to my src folder and I can just create a route, let's say routes, not routes, whatever that was. Then maybe create an API route, and then inside it we can have users, let's say, and I guess that should be it. Now inside the API we can actually create a file, so index.ts, let's say. I can actually import the app from index, which I have already made from here. This app, constant app equals to create app, that is function that we'll talk about that later. And now we can actually write app.use, let's say. Then we have the /API route. We can get the regress both, and we have the regress race.send hello API. Now we're actually not going to use that because we have the users route that we need to handle. So inside it, I'm just going to write index.ts router that is imported from Express, and inside it I can just write router.get, let's say. Then we have this thing. We have to actually handle this. So app.use, we can actually import the router from here, which we can name as, let's say, user router. We need to export it, user router. We can import it over here, and now we can just send it like this. That's how you actually write your API routes in Express every day. But I kinda dislike this approach. What if you actually have more routes? Let's say user ID. So actually let's type it. Index.ts constant router equals to, let's say, user ID router, not only router. User ID router equals to router. And then we can just call it. And now we can just write, yes, this thing. So I just gotta export it, obviously. So export this thing. Now I can just write user router.use /user ID for the dynamic route. And then we have the router imported from the user ID route. What if we have more routes, like let's say likes, let's say notifications. Now inside this likes, what if we have more dynamic routes? So like ID, and then maybe inside the notifications, we have notification ID, let's say noti ID, why not? This can just go on and you're just gonna write like every time with like user router.use, which let's say /notification ID, and it just goes on forever. What if there is a better way? And we actually have a better way. It's in Nextjs, obviously file-based routing. So before going further, I'm just gonna thank Matthias for making this awesome package, Express File Routing. This is the package that helped me create my own template about this file routing system. And this project is also open source. You have the whole thing, you can just clone it, you can use it however you want. If you're a Nextjs developer, or if you're just going to become a Nextjs developer, but still you're exploring some Express stuff, this is the thing for you. So what we did is we actually got this index.ts file where we have this create router. So create router is the thing that actually I can actually close this route, so we don't need it anymore. So this create router, which we are actually calling in the app.ts file, where we have create router of app. So we're actually making an instance of Express, and then we're actually passing the app to the router. What this actually does, it actually takes two params, app, which is the Express, and second, the options. Now this options actually takes router options that takes the directory. Now by default, this directory is set to app, the default router directory, which is actually app. So all you have to do is create an app router, like app directory, and inside it just keep creating your directories or folders and files. You can actually read the whole thing about how it works in the readme file. I have documented it nicely. You can just go and read it. I tried my best, I'll be honest. But I'm gonna keep it short, I will explain it quickly. We got that app directory from here, and we fetched the routes. So this function, you can read the code. If you want me to comment some stuff, I will surely do it. Just let me know in the comments. After fetching the routes, we actually got all the files inside it, and then we actually generated the routes. So this function, what it does is first of all checks for all the ignored files. So .d.ts will not be a valid extension. Only .js, ts, mjs, tsx, and jsx will be the valid extension. After parsing all these files, we have this thing that builds the routes, builds the URL for the routes. The URL, I mean the /user or /user ID, that thing. And then we have the calculate priority, because this thing actually matters. I didn't know about it at first. I actually asked Copilot for this. This code is literally copied from the Express file routing package, so you can just check it out from the original package if you want. But we made some changes from the original package. So in the original package, routes only takes the index.ts, and also the pages or the other thing, that home directory also takes the index.ts. So there is no separation for the route files and the normal tsx files or jsx files. I believe using this package you cannot write jsx inside Express, but using this template you can. I actually made sure that you can actually render jsx inside it. But there's a problem. You cannot write client-side code. So this is all server rendered, so you cannot have interactivity. So if you know how to fix it, you can just create a PR if you want. So inside it, we actually imported all the files that we needed with route.ts or page.tsx. And we actually checked whether we have export from those routes. If we do not, then we're just going to throw an error. Then we checked if the file name is page, then whether we have a default export or not, because page files can only have default exports with the name page. For the route files, we cannot have any default exports, but we can have only get, post, and all the HTTP stuff. You can have custom ones, but you cannot have any default export. That's what I tried to implement over here. And this logic is not present in the package, so I tried my best to actually make it fit. Now I have actually set up the Thunder client for this one, so I can actually call it, and I can just keep it on the side. We do not need this part, so I can just hide it, and let me just start my console. So npm dev. Now that our server is ready, I'm actually gonna send a request to my, let's say, users route. So this route actually takes a username and email. So I'm just gonna write it down. Username, we have the, let's say, HTRVGO. I have the email as test as at test.com. So I'm actually gonna uncheck email, and I'm just gonna send it. When I send it, I can see that there is an error that was returned, expected string but received undefined at email. So it actually works. And we can actually just make it tick back, and I can just send it, and we get a response back, which is actually this, data with username and email. Now you might be wondering what is CResponse. So CResponse is a custom function that actually checks all the conditions, like what are your messages, and the messages are actually typezip. So you can actually get all the messages that you can possibly have. So whatever message you write over here, it will set the code for it automatically. So if I actually write instead of OK, let's say not implemented, then we're gonna get another status code from here. Okay, so the server actually started, I believe. Yeah. So you can just send it. I got 501 not implemented. Now I actually made sure that you can also upload files. So I have a route called uploads with route.ts that actually takes a post. We have an array of functions. This is the middleware, and this is the main function. So if you have to add a middleware, so you just make an array, and then you just add all the middlewares over here, and the last function should be your request, like the main one. So if I actually change the route to uploads, and I have to send a form data, so it actually takes name and age. I can actually change to age, and let's say 14. I have a file ready, I believe. Yes, I have a file over here, and I can just make it tick and just send it. Expected string but received undefined at name. Okay, so it's gonna be name, not username, sorry. And now if we actually try to send it, file is uploaded over here, and we have the user with name and age, just the way it is supposed to return. And as it is actually using Multer, so it's gonna upload the file in our local storage over here. Now the dynamic route functionality is as same as Nextjs. So you have the third bracket, and inside it we have the user ID. Inside it we have route.ts. Now if you actually send a request to users / let's say 123 with a get request, we can get back the user ID 123 over here. If you change it to 4x6, you can get back 456. And that was it. You can actually change it to CResponse if you want. So I can just write return CResponse, yes. And now I can have autocomplete over here. So I have race first, then we have the message. Let's say okay. And lastly, we have the data where we're gonna send the user ID. It's gonna send the code, message, and the data. Now, isn't that cool? Now for JSX, you can actually write it over here if you want. I can actually show it if I go to this route, localhost 3001/home. Now we have the heading. If I change it to hello, I save it, I reload it, and now it is changed to hello. For now, we have not yet implemented any CSS tricks, like you cannot add CSS in it, except you add style, and then inside it, you actually add the background color or something like that. So background color. Now you can also have the color, and this works too. So for now, you actually have to use this style attribute, and we do not have any way to import CSS in here. But if you know how to do it, create a pull request. I'll be happy. That was just a quick walkthrough of what can be done with Express, and I guess that is it. So see you soon. Have a good day, night. Do subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And goodbye. Peace.